Cindy was a 25-year-old and single. She lived in a nice neighborhood and had a nice job. It was just very quiet in the house, and she missed the company of others. After doing some research on pets, she decided to adopt a cat from the shelter. She fell for an older cat named Tabby, and she wanted to give him another good time. The first few months went really well, and it was time to let Tabby out. She just wasn't prepared for what happened next. Tabby came to Mike every night to eat something nice, but Cindy brought him his bowl. She realized there was something different about Tabby. Tabby suddenly wore a collar, but that wasn't all. There was a pouch on the collar, and when she opened the pouch, she saw something very special. The bag was full of dollar bills. Cindy counted the money, and she was shocked. She decided to count the money again, but it really was a lot. Why would someone tie a bag of money to her cat? Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Cindy didn't understand and had a lot of questions. She didn't know what to do. Should she go to the police? She decided to examine the bag of money, but could find no clue as to how the money had gotten there. She had to do something, and then suddenly she had a radical idea. Cindy wasn't sure if she should call the police, but what would they do with the money she found? After all, she hadn't stolen it and decided to call a friend instead of the police. But what she did next was truly remarkable. Cindy didn't tell her friend about the money her cat had taken. However, she didn't talk about the money she had found, but asked if she wanted to go out for dinner. Cindy wanted to treat her, and her friend accepted the offer. However, when this friend arrived at Cindy's house, she was stunned. Cindy was wearing a very expensive outfit, and her friend had no idea how she could afford it. Her friend knew that she didn't have much money to spare for nice clothes, and that she generally had to be frugal. When they arrived at the restaurant, an even bigger surprise awaited her. Cindy had made a reservation at an exclusive restaurant. When her friend asked how she got so much money, Cindy said she got a new job with a top salary. Of course, this was not true. Cindy still worked for the same daycare. Had the cat really made so much money that she could live so lavishly on it? Cindy found it useful that every time after Tabby walked around outside, she had a bag full of extra money. She decided to just enjoy it and make her dreams come true. She didn't think about where the money could come today. One day Cindy got a letter, and it also came with an unexpected letter from a sender she didn't recognize. She immediately opened the letter, and what it contained astonished her. The letter was written in Chinese, handwritten in a graceful handwriting. She decided to translate the letter, and after reading the letter, chills ran down her spine. She tried several translation websites to make sure the translation was correct, but the gist of the text was the same. The letter read, "We gave you the money, so now leave us alone. We will kill the cat when it comes back to us to cover all traces." Cindy had no idea what it was about, but she was terrified of the fate that awaited Tabby if he went outside again. She didn't know what to do. Should she still call the police? Cindy decided not to say anything, hoping everything would blow over and no one would find out. She was afraid she was not the intended recipient of the money. When the doorbell suddenly rang, she was shocked. When Cindy opened the door, the police were right in front of her. Did this have anything to do with Tabby? Cindy was terrified, and she could barely even speak. The police asked if they could come in, and Cindy felt like everything was going wrong. Did the police know anything about the cat and about the money? Why did they visit her? Cindy had so many questions. The police were there for a good reason, though, and it had something to do with Cindy's behavior herself. Cindy's friend had heard that Cindy was dating a boy she had only just met. She also thought it was very strange that Cindy suddenly had a lot of money, but that she was not allowed to tell anyone in their group of friends. Even though her friend had promised Cindy not to say anything, she sensed something wasn't right. To protect her friend, she had called the police. The girlfriend knew that Cindy had no money for all that luxury, and because she didn't know what to do, she called the police. She was afraid that her new boyfriend had something to do with this, and that Cindy was in danger and that he would take advantage of her. The police understood these concerns and had offered to visit Cindy to make sure she was okay. However, the police had a reason to be extra careful in these kinds of situations. The police wanted to talk to Cindy about her safety, and they said there had been more women in the past who had been in the same situations as Cindy. They said she didn't want the same thing to happen to Cindy. Cindy thought she meant the cat and the money. However, the police were talking about something else, but they wouldn't say that they had been called in by a friend. What the police eventually told her stunned her. It was something she hadn't seen coming at all. How did the police get this story? The police wanted to protect Cindy from a potential predatory man. Her friend was afraid that Cindy had a lover-boy, and the police were afraid that Cindy was in danger. They were afraid she was a victim of human trafficking. Cindy's response to this was very special. Instead of being grateful for the police's concern for Cindy's safety, she became furious with the officers. How could they say such a thing? Her new crush was a very sweet boy, and he had even paid for their date. The officers were still concerned, wondering how Cindy got the extra money for expensive dinners and clothes, especially as she didn't get money from a man. They still believed that Cindy was easy prey because she had the perfect profile, single, a lower income, and a simple home. Did the cops still think Cindy was being harassed by a man? Did they think Cindy was hiding this because she was being threatened? The reason that the police did not want to let go of the investigation was because of a number of strange events in the area. The police were not done with Cindy and asked if they could search her house. If Cindy refused, they would ask the judge for a search warrant. Cindy didn't know how to get out of this, but why did the police want to do a search? The police no longer believed that Cindy was the victim of a lover-boy, but they thought that Cindy herself was engaged in illegal activities. How else could she suddenly have so much money? Cindy burst into tears. How could it have come this far? She consented to the search and told the entire Tabby story to the officers. Then she suddenly remembered the letter she had received. The letter was proof that she had not obtained the money illegally, and she grabbed the letter to give to the agents. They also had to translate the letter first, and they read it through several times. You will be amazed at what they said to each other. One officer said to the other, "We've seen this before. In fact, we have one of these in our hands again." The other cop replied, "They think they can outsmart us." Cindy couldn't understand anymore. Did the police know who sent the letter? She had so many questions. However, this was not the case at all. The agents believed that Cindy had written the letter herself as a way to prove her innocence. The officers continued their search at a rapid pace. It didn't take long before they found something remarkable. They searched all the rooms, and at first it seemed they couldn't find anything. When the search was almost over, they found a bag of money in a dresser. The pouch exactly matched Cindy's description in her cat story. The police took the bag of money to the station for further investigation. The pouch contained several dollar bills, and the police wondered if Cindy had put them in herself to give credence to her story. However, not all officers were convinced, also because they had not found anything else that indicated illegal activities. Cindy was relieved that the officers had found the bag of money and hoped they would believe her story. After all, it was the truth. They asked Cindy to come to the station for an interview, and just then, a woman entered the police station. Suddenly, a lot became clear. The woman who came in was Cindy's neighbor. She had seen that Cindy's closet had a pouch on his collar, and she had seen the cat several times go out without and come back with a pouch. She told the officers this, but that was not all. Something suspicious was going on. The neighbor had seen several times in the past week that the cat was put in front of Cindy's front door by a strange man. The police asked if Cindy's neighbor wanted to make this in an official statement. Fortunately for Cindy, the neighbor agreed. Wouldn't this be enough to prove that Cindy had told the truth? In fact, was she still telling the truth? The search had now been completed, and the officers had found nothing other than the bag with money. This, combined with the neighbor's official statement, was enough for the police to believe Cindy. One question, however, remained unanswered. Who was behind the money? The agents decided to do more research to find out who this money was coming from and, of course, why. The whole situation was very suspicious, and they decided to keep an eye on Cindy's house, hoping to find answers to their questions. However, it didn't take them long to find out who this mysterious person was. They had asked Cindy to let Tabby out one more time, and the police would make sure nothing happened to him. As planned, Tabby left the house and headed for the woods. When a man approached the cat, they immediately decided to arrest him. You will never believe who this man was. The man belonged to the mafia. The cat served as an intermediary to pay someone off. Only when the cat came to the shelter and was adopted did everything get mixed up. Cindy was allowed to keep the money she had been given, but she had to keep the cat inside from now on. The man who tied the money to the cat was arrested. Cindy had to be more frugal from then on, but most of all she was glad that nothing had happened to herself and Tevi.